Support WrestleTalk!
Get a free case of craft beer, UK viewers only, by visiting the beer52.com link in the video description below. Batista shoots on Triple H. I'm Ollie Davis, this is Luke Owen. Welcome to the Raw review edition of WrestleRamble, where we are kicking off with, I would say there are only two good segments on this show, and we're kicking off with one of them, which was Batista cutting a promo from his evil mob boss villain lair in Tampa, Florida.
He looked like such a heel. Like such a brilliantly heel. Like sitting there like, oh, you look like such a knob.
You look like you could be the villain of a DC TV series.
With all the production value of a DC TV series behind you.
Not crazy production value, not like in a movie, but for like WWE backdrops. Generally just a picture of Shawn Michaels' latest movie and a potted
Pure
plant.
country.
Yeah, and a scream. This was production level wise for just a live interview skit. So Batista wasn't in like at Raw in Chicago. He was live via satellite from Florida.
Because if you're important, you don't actually have to go to Raw each week.
See Brock Lesnar. And Michael Cole is conducting this interview with him about Batista's side of the story.
Yeah. So basically, that's how they were pushing this all night, is that the Animal, Batista, is going to give his version of events, of his history with Triple H. And he essentially said that Triple H uses people. He used people in DX. I was only ever supposed to be the muscle of Evolution, but in the end, I left. I went to Hollywood, and I became a big star without him. So I finally got what I want.
Give me what I want.
Give me what I want.
Give me what I want. So it's interesting because that plays into... There was a lot of realism in this. Of course, everything was signed off by all parties before they used this material. But all the stuff Batista brought up are things that people have been critical about Triple H behind the scenes in the past. The idea that Batista wasn't meant to be the breakout star of Evolution, he never was. That was designed to, it was mostly designed to make Triple H seem less boring because he's better in a group.
Yeah.
And to get Randy Orton over.
I'd say get Batista over as well. I mean, he got over more than they probably would have expected him to get over. But I'd certainly, the whole point of that group was to create two new stars.
Yeah, but definitely it was more Randy.
Randy was the first one to become a star. Then it was, Batista came second. But I think the evolution was certainly designed to create new stars.
Overall, but I'm saying Batista, I would argue, became way more popular than Randy and way more popular than a lot of the people in that group. And then, it's just about Triple H holding him down. And then we haven't heard him say this yet because I guess WWE don't really like it. He's become a much bigger star without them. Yeah,
it's the thing that they didn't like The Rock for a little while, is that he became so big that he just didn't need them anymore. Like, Batista doesn't need WWE to get another Hollywood deal because he's a Hollywood-made man. Like, he was starred last year in a $2 billion movie. Like, he doesn't need WWE now to get himself a big deal.
I really like how Batista, because The Rock was The Rock. The Rock could quite easily walk out of the Attitude Era and straight into a crappy CGI sequence at the end of The Mummy Returns. And it took a while. Like, he had a lot of duds, but now he is a very well-respected action movie, blockbuster, movie money name.
The highest paid actor in Hollywood.
Exactly. But he had a much easier run of things, I would argue, than Batista, who went and started doing those direct-to-DVD action movies, and he really worked his way from the ground up. Batista did that. I always feel like Rock in Hollywood was like the Randy Orton journey. You're already made for this, and we might not use you the best at the start, but it pays off at the end. Whereas Batista worked his way through the indies, and I have enormous respect for him. And look where he is now. Like, he's a proper character actor.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've always really liked about Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, that whole movie is almost like various different points of untested. Like, Chris Pratt was quite big on Parks and Rec, but untested as an action hero.
Well, look at this. He was in a completely different physical shape.
Exactly,
in Parks and Rec.
James Gunn was a guy that had come from Tromeo and Juliet and this sort of like trauma background, writing scripts for Scooby-Doo that weren't being used, being tested on a big time movie. And the production itself is Guardians of the Galaxy, at best, like M-level, like comic book property that no one knew when they announced it.
Weirdly, the most bankable name in your cast, Bradley Cooper, is a voice role.
And Vin Diesel.
He's not even on screen.
And Vin Diesel says,
Vin
Diesel says 4 words in the entire movie. I am Groot and we.
So yeah, this idea that so the 2 points are that Triple H surrounds himself with more like other people in wrestling. So you've got DX and then you've got Evolution, because Triple H isn't really like, Triple H is great. We love Triple H, but I think he recognizes his own limitations in that he needs other more talented people around him. And to be more, I'm not being down on Triple H. When I'm saying more talented than Triple H, I'm talking Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair. Like, these are crazily like some of the most talented people ever in the business.
I think he knows how to use a faction to not only better himself, but also better other people. I would say like the New Age Outlaws, the story that they always tell is we were put into DX because we were more over than Triple H was, and he needed us. And whereas X-Pac was just there because, well, they're mates. But I think Evolution, I think that the whole purpose of that, he was best friends with Ric Flair. He wanted his own 4 horsemen, and it kept him on top for a good year or so.
Well, that's it. That the Evolution stuff, I'm not a huge fan of the Evolution faction. And I
wasn't watching at that period.
I hear Evolution, I think Triple H's Reign of Terror. Like, Triple H's Reign of Terror would have been even worse, and I think unjustifiable, if he didn't have seconds in Flair, Batista, and Orton.
Yeah.
So I don't buy into the whole Triple H is this generous spirit, although that's definitely how he's presented himself.
Are you saying I'm the
with
Michael
NXT.
Cole of this segment?
You're kind of being the Michael Cole, man. The Pritchard. I bet Pritchard was feeding him the lines directly.
God, you're good.
Yeah.
You're so good.
But this whole, like, if you haven't seen it, go and watch Max Landis's short film. It's about 15 minutes long. It's called Wrestling Isn't Wrestling. And it's
about the only good thing he's ever done.
It's a fascinating
chronicle.
Thing about, like, a way to present Triple H's character arc over the course of an entire career, so 2 decades. And one of the things he points out is Triple H, in character, but also kind of in real life person, is a little bit unsure of his own abilities, which is why he surrounds himself with people.
Yeah.
And that's what I really like, that point of Batista's promo.
And that's what, when Michael Cole then sort of pipes up and was like, hey, I've known Triple H for over 20 years. He's been nothing but nice to me. He's been very nice to other people. Look at all the good work he's done down in NXT. And Batista just pretty much just like, this is what Triple H does. He's the cerebral assassin. He's the game. He's manipulated you into thinking this is what he's like. That's not who Triple H is. I thought it was a really wonderful turn for Batista and like really good character motivation for him, because you can totally believe that. Because I think we, as internet marks and things like that, are of the opinion that, like, God, Triple H's Reign of Terror, it was awful. Triple H was always on top. Triple H has always been burying talent. Triple H has always been this. But now, in the modern day, we're like, you know what? Can't wait till Triple H takes over, because I think the place is going to be so much better when he does. That's NXT, because that is kind of like a modern day concept idea, is that we all, a lot of us think this place will be better when Triple H and Stephanie are running it, ignoring the fact that it's going to be exactly the bloody same, because Raw and SmackDown cater to very different audiences than NXT does.
Yeah, it's. I think Triple H is. I can't speak for the person, but I think he's definitely manufactured a very positive internet character, not character. What's the word? Like presence,
persona,
identity, persona.
And he sort of surrounded himself with people that internet marks do like Borash and like Abyss, and like he's bringing in sort of these people and creating like his own crew,
his own TNA.
Yeah,
but I mean, so Batista, his delivery, again, just like last week, is on another level. Just like his backdrops, there's normal wrestling acting. I would say Kevin Owens and alike are at the highest part of that, because they're very, very good. But Batista is just, he's a proper character actor now. And he can deliver these promos so believably. And like, he starts off really calm and measured. And I almost thought, I'm on your side, Batista.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you're the baby face here. And Michael didn't help having Michael Cole as the person who's meant to be be in the audience. Like immediately I'm going to take against what Cole says. But then he says the line that I think is worked into what you were just talking about. He said, there's two things that I want to happen. I want to end your wrestling career at WrestleMania, and I want to I want Vince McMahon to fire you, ending your corporate career.
It was a really weird line, because it's almost a sort of line that you don't think is ever going to get picked up on again, but he's like, I hope Vince fires him. And it felt like a very real and genuine line.
Yeah.
Very weird.
And it's a perfectly guided heat-seeking missile to get fans who want Triple H to, like, can you think of anything more worse than more Vince over the years? Like, as fabricated as the Triple H taking over idea might be, I think we're all kind of holding on to that, at least, even if we recognize it, that it's probably a very one-dimensional look at how things are going to play out. But I thought, Batista was great. It was great content, great delivery. The Michael Cole stuff, meh.
Well, I preferred it to when he was on A Moment of Bliss.
Yep, that's a good point. But the crowd, the Chicago crowd, started chanting for CM Punk. This is why we can't have nice things. The WrestleRamble is, of course, sponsored by beer.
Oh, yes.
Beer52.com/WrestleTalk. Visit that link and you can get a free case of craft beer, UK viewers only. And we will be sampling one of this month's right here.
And this is an exclusive from Aura, who are an Italian company. So this crate was like sort of themed around the world, the Seven Nations. Seven Nations, isn't it?
The rugby is the Six Nations.
Damn it, I was thinking of Seven Nation Army. Anyway, tasting notes. I know all about rugby with the touchdowns and the scrambles and whatnot.
Scrambles.
Yep. A double dry hopped Napa with a hazy appearance. Citra and Mosaic take the lead of the hopping regime, providing a burst of fruit and bitterness well above the 5% ABV should. It will leave you with a hazy heart that wants more, featuring exclusive artwork to contrast the lightness. Limoncello IPA.
Limoncello.
Let me have a go on
we
this
had one from the we had some limoncello from Sorrento last week.
It did. It was
yep,
from this.
That's really tasty. That again, it has quite a citrus taste to it.
That is good. That's lovely.
So get yours in a beer52.com crate. Use the link in the video description below.
Haha, it's a Raw review looking jacked, man.
Raw, however, opened with Brock Lesnar actually showing up for work. The last time we saw him was 2 months ago, or a month and a half. No, 2 months ago, really, on the Raw after Royal Rumble when he gave Seth Rollins 100 F5s.
Well, he doesn't need to be there every week because Paul Heyman is.
Yeah.
And Paul Heyman is there to continue the feud. I thought Brock got very good heat, though.
Yeah, well, Chicago, great crowd traditionally. This is the opening segment. They're not bored yet. Kurt Angle hasn't announced his WrestleMania opponent.
This was a crowd that started off really, really hot, then slowly just got chipped away until Seth made his comeback during the Drew match to cap off the show. And then they were mega hot again.
I really liked Michael Cole's line here. So Brock Lesnar's coming out with Paul Heyman there, and Michael Cole just says, Brock Lesnar's here as advertised. And I just thought, there was no irony in the way he said that. Like, usually you would, if you were a babyface, if JR said that, Jim Ross back in the day, he would say it sarcastically.
Yeah.
Because of all the times.
Advertised.
Yeah. Because of all the times Brock hasn't turned up. That was the whole, stuff behind Roman Reigns' feud with him last year. That he wasn't showing up for advertised dates. And Cole said it after just months of false advertisements by WWE for various stars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you got recaps of Seth's promo from last week, and Heyman says that AJ, Finn, and Daniel Bryan, they all did take Brock to the limit, but do you know what? Brock still won. Brock is still Universal Champion. Brock's still here, and this brings out Drew McIntyre, which I thought was a really nice. It's a little moment where I was like, oh, this is cool, because we haven't seen something like Drew versus Brock in WWE. So I was like, that'd be quite an interesting big man battle.
Meat slabs.
That's a meaty match.
Slabby.
But Seth essentially ran down and hit Drew in the back with a chair, trying to get a receipt for last week of him taking out Dean Ambrose. Neither Dean or Roman on this show tonight, because they were putting over the fact that Drew has been taking out members of the Shield which would then build into his promo to end off the night.
Yeah, I don't know what happened in the dark match main event, but the advertised dark match main event was Rollins and Ambrose.
I think Ambrose was there.
Yeah, so maybe Ambrose is written off TV forever now.
Well, you're sticking with that, I guess.
Let's see.
We'll see. We've got 3 weeks and... How many weeks is it now?
3 weeks, 20 days. So 3 weeks.
Good
three episodes of Raw.
So that's why Brock's here.
Yeah. That set up the main event match for later tonight, which is makes sense because it was Drew taking out Dean and Roman last week, as you said, and now Seth's getting his revenge. And Seth didn't just hang out at the back taking all this crap from people on the mic. He went out there and he just took out Drew with a chair.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
And then he runs down to the ring. Heyman and Brock bail. Brock's just like, I'm not getting in the ring with you, mate. It's not WrestleMania just yet. And I liked Heyman just shouting, it's like, tell him who the champion is. And he's raised the belt above his head. I'm sick of Brock being champion because we had this time last year and I was kind of ready for it to end at last year's WrestleMania. So it doesn't really work for me that we're doing it once again this time, a following year later. But I do like Brock.
Yeah.
I think Brock is a very good screen presence when he's there.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. The atmosphere changes when he comes out.
Yeah.
The air shifts. I thought this was a very good... It did nothing, really. Nothing was really progressed, but this was a fine opening segment of a TV show that I watch on a weekly basis.
Yeah, so peeling back the curtain ever so slightly, we're recording this at about 5 to 2 in the afternoon. I watched this show at 5 a.m. this morning, and I've forgotten almost everything that was on there. So I'm hoping that my notes are good.
Yeah. Do you want me to... Well, that's when it gets to bits that I think you might have forgotten, I will flag it. So next up we had Finn Balor and a mystery partner taking on Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush. Of course, Balor lost his Intercontinental title last week to Bobby via Leo distraction.
Well, let's start the speculation. Who could this mystery partner be? Could it be Johnny Gargano? He's not been on TV since he was called up for that 1 week. Could it be another NXT call-up? Could it be a surprise? Could it be a big return? No, of course it's Braun Strowman. Of course it was going to be Braun Strowman.
Yeah. As soon as it was announced, I was like, oh, yeah, well, screw me for getting excited about something.
It really was.
But Cole, before the ad break, Cole said, who could his monstrous partner be?
Yeah.
And I just, that telegraphed it, fine. But why does Michael Cole know?
Yeah.
That opened up too many questions for me. And I found myself for the rest of the next match going, well, maybe the backstage people know, but the idea is the opponents don't know and they told Michael Cole. But why doesn't this usually happen?
It reminds me of when Impact or TNA had their big debut show on a Monday night. When they had those
January 4th.
I'm not sure if it was the January 4th one or it might have been the other big Monday night debut show they had. It was the one where Rob Van Dam debuted, actually, which might have been the Monday 4th show. But before Rob debuted, I think Sting's in the ring, looking for a mystery opponent, and Taz just goes, "Hey, Tenay, what were you doing at 4:20 this afternoon?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. So it's Rob Van Dam then."
Yeah.
Way to spoil the surprise there.
It's not a big surprise. I don't really care about it. It's just, it's made me confused about how much people know, because the announcers don't even know what's happening outside of their screens. They can't tell when someone's obviously running through the crowd.
Yeah. Anyway, here's a shocker. Lashley and Rush beat down Finn Balor for a long, long time. Braun got the hot tag. He ran wild. Braun won. How does this further Finn versus Bobby Lashley?
Because it's going to be Braun versus Lashley. And Braun in the WrestleMania Battle Royal. And Braun versus the SNL guys.
So it appears to be leading to Finn challenging for the Intercontinental Championship as the Demon. Which would be a nice... We've always wanted to see the Demon at WrestleMania. I don't think the Demon means anything anymore because...
Oh, I think he does because he's barely been used. It feels like a big deal when he comes out.
But it also raises so many questions as to why.
Yeah.
I think that's more my point. The Demon's always cool to see, but it's storyline-wise, I don't understand why.
There's no consistency.
Why wasn't he out for the Brock Lesnar match at Royal Rumble?
Because he's not Baron Corbin. Look, Baron Corbin's a huge deal.
I guess
the Demon
so.
comes out for him. Kurt Angle wants to be retired by him.
So I thought that this did very little to further that storyline. It was just Braun pins people because that's what Braun does. And then later, Braun announces himself for the Battle Royal that no one cares about. So I was like, great.
Maybe the way you make people care about it is have the IC title up for grabs in the Battle Royal.
Oh, interesting. Do you think that's what they're going to do?
They've done... Last year, they had a 10-year-old boy tag with Braun Strowman. They can do anything, Luke.
Well, I was thinking about... Me and Fakador did a show about this on Saturday, kind of like going through the announced matches for the Mania card and then kind of like talking about rumoured matches. And you're looking down the list of champions who currently don't have matches and or storylines. And then you're looking at... There's like 5 matches that are not for belts. And you're like, where are these champions going to fit into all of this?
Yeah, I think... Some titles are going to be absorbed into those battle royals. Put Asuka's title up in the battle royal and just have her beat everyone.
Well, no, she gets to be part of that triple threat match with Mandy and Sonya, where she gets to be a third wheel.
The Strowman and Lashley really stood tall here. Rush and Balor were just there to get beaten up. So big people matter. Yep. This is what this match told me.
Speaking of big people matter, Ronda was walking backstage. It was announced that she was fined an undisclosed amount for her actions last week, which some people thought was real.
I'm glad they said that, because I don't like it when they put monetary figures, because it's never the right amount.
Yeah.
It's either $1 million
or 1,000.
1,000.
Yeah.
Remember
$10.
Talking about forgetting things, when Stephanie McMahon fined Brock Lesnar a laughable amount of money for F5ing Shane McMahon after the Randy Orton elbow thing.
That's right, yeah, because they were going to do Shane versus Brock at one point.
And Brock said no. So they just didn't do it.
Because of course he did.
How many... Has Shane got the worst track record of plans falling through for him? Because people just go, no, I don't want to do that with Shane.
I don't know, man. Maybe. I bet you there's someone who's got like injury prone that keeps getting there. Tommaso Ciampa, I suppose, his one storyline that he's had for the last 4 years keeps getting dropped annoyingly.
Well, now you just made me sad.
But actually, it still makes it better, I guess. But anyway, Ronda arrives with her new second. It's only her husband, Travis Browne.
Now, as soon as he walked in backstage and they were together and Michael Cole referenced Travis Browne, I was like, so you're part of this act now?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'll see where this goes. Thankfully, I think it's dynamite.
Yeah.
There was the only other good thing on this show, I thought. Well, I guess the main event match was fun. But
it was really... it just seems so weird to introduce this now. This sort of like very late in the game of Ronda's WWE run. I know she's only just turned heel, but if reports to be believed, she's going after WrestleMania, so it's very weird. It's very late in the day to introduce her husband as a character.
Well, he always... If I'm remembering right, he wants to do some wrestling, so maybe he can join the women's division. I don't know where I'm going with this.
He's still got to be part of the family that Ronda wants to start.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't need to be pregnant, though.
No,
Men
perhaps.
can, they don't...
It's not like Junior, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie with Danny DeVito?
I'm sure. If only we could share the joy of childbirth with our female counterparts.
But anyway, yeah, some refs try to stop her, and she just and tell her that she's late, but she just walks on. She don't care.
I like how Ronda's character is. I make you so much money, I can do anything I want.
That's great.
That's so good.
Very good. Do you know what's not great? Saying it's fake and scripted.
Yes, yeah. I would have much preferred they go with the thing I like rather than the fake stuff.
Yep, completely agree. Speaking of fake stuff, a moment of bliss is back. I mean, I say it's back. It's still here.
It's never gone anywhere.
Oh, it went away for a couple of weeks.
No. Not being on TV for a week doesn't mean it's gone. It hasn't signed with AEW.
So this was mad awkward, because they had like the setup for a moment of bliss. Bliss comes out, and then she just throws to Michael Cole at the announcer's desk for him to run down the WrestleMania card. Really awkward.
Yeah. Then back to her. Excuse me. Back to her. And she welcomes Elias out because Elias is going to be the headlining musical act at WrestleMania.
Yep. Because the show's not long enough as it is. 17 matches. A rumored 17 matches. 8-hour runtime for this show thus far.
Oh, my God.
And we're getting a musical act in there as well. And Elias apparently is feuding with No Way Jose.
I prefer an Elias musical act to a Flow Rider musical act or a Pitbull.
Yeah, Yeah, no, I could see that.
My
Because
problem is-
I would never listen to a Flow Rider album outside of a WrestleMania appearance. Nor would I listen to... Who was the other one you just said? Pitbull. He's another chap that I wouldn't listen to outside of a WrestleMania experience.
Should they're great.
I'm sure they are. It's not my scene, but I'm sure they are. But I wouldn't listen to an Elias album either, I guess. But at least he is a wrestler, and he can just do, your local sports team to an international audience.
That he put over here. He said New York, the best city.
Yeah.
I bet when he gets to New York, he's not going to... Where's the
change his mind.
consistency, Elias?
But anyway, he says that... Alexa says that this is a safe space and there'll be no more interruptions because it's not like a moment of bliss never has interruptions. And there was another one here because No Way Jose came out. Well, his music hit and Heavy Machinery came out with the Sex Party. And then from out of nowhere, one of them was No Way Jose, who attacked Elias from behind.
The funny thing was, so he was kind of disguised No Way Jose, or No Win Jose, as I've rechristened him.
Excellent.
Hilariously.
Oh, God, you're good at this.
He takes off his mask, and then he beats up, he jumps Elias, because they had an altercation last week. They were meant to have a match, but Elias just booted him. Or maybe it was an interruption. I don't care. And No Way Jose's beating Elias up at the top of the ramp. But I'm like, I don't know who that is. Is that one of the other Sex Party people? I haven't got used to his new green braids.
Yeah. But
It's had a match, yeah.
It did lead to a match. No Way Jose. Crowd didn't care. I thought the Sex Party were louder than the crowd, and Elias won.
The crowd really didn't care.
Oh, no, they
That's
did
an
not.
understatement.
Oh,
This
yeah.
was very quiet.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for the 1-2 punch of finishing off a crowd, Kurt Angle came out next.
Yeah.
To announce his WrestleMania 35 opponent, the person who will retire him. Something that's been built up quite a lot over the last week.
Yeah, and it was, there's been lots of chat. Kurt Angle was saying it could be John Cena, it could be Samoa Joe, Drew McIntyre, it could be someone from his TNA days, of Bobby Lashley.
Matt Riddle tweeted him saying, I want to fight you.
And Angle said that they made it very clear that he made this choice. And he said it was Baron Corbin. And he said that he's picked Baron Corbin because Corbin cost him his job as Raw GM. Which is sort of a consistent storyline, but Angle would have still lost his job when the new era kicked in anyway, so it didn't really matter that Baron Corbin cost him his job for a bit. And didn't Angle get his comeuppance on Corbin when he was dressed as a gold dildo and eliminated him from that battle royal to go on to the Best in the World tournament?
Maybe. Maybe he did. There's been a few 6-man tags as well.
Yeah,
where
he's won. And Corbin did pin him a couple of months ago when Angle was rubbish, but Angle's good again now. So not really sure where that was going. And also, Corbin's been cutting promos on Roman for the past few weeks and not Angle. I think this is pretty crap.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is pretty rubbish. But Labar is reporting that this is all set up to swerve us. It's not going to be Baron Corbin. It's just being announced to be Baron Corbin to get us riled up, to get us angry, so we're then more appreciative when the actual match is announced.
Which is, that works sometimes. I mean, a great example. I was worked by it, but then I really bought into the story by the end. Kofi versus Daniel Bryan. That has been very successful. I don't think you should run 3 of those at the same time.
Yeah.
Brian Alvarez pointed this out, because you've also had Becky being pulled and reinserted into a match, and now you're doing the stuff with Angle. And it's only 3 weeks away.
Yeah.
Like, you really want to announce your match now so you can build it. Otherwise, you get to next week and you reveal, it's a swerve. And you're like, well, now there's only 2 weeks. And what was the point of just having a week swerve? Literally a week swerve. And so if it is a swerve, which I really hope it is, even though it's still going to be a crap story, there's some irreparable damage has already been done because it was Kurt choosing Baron.
That's the issue.
So if next week it becomes, it's John Cena, and everyone's like, yay, John Cena versus Kurt Angle, or Samoa Joe. Yay, Samoa Joe versus Kurt Angle. I'm really happy, but that doesn't excuse that Kurt Angle looks rubbish because he has chosen to end his career. A legit gold medalist, multi-time world champion in New Japan, TNA, WWE, and my favourite wrestler of all time. So I feel very disrespected by WWE's portrayal and treatment of Kurt Angle.
This might be legit Kurt Angle's worst run in a company of all time.
It is.
Since he's come back to WWE and he was Raw GM, I don't think he's had a good moment or a good storyline.
I spent, all my time, every spare moment, not hyperbole at all, since he left WWE, planning his fantasy booking his return. And the return was, Hall of Fame video package. Kurt's coming back to WWE. And I was fuming. I was like, he's having really good matches for what Culture Pro Wrestling as it was back then, and just round the indies. Why are you just bringing him back in a video package? Bring him back in a storyline. And they did nothing with him. And now it might end. I don't even know if it's a swerve. It could be Baron Corbin, because I felt like this was building to Drew versus Kurt, but they've decided Drew's going to go with Roman, and they've changed their minds.
That would appear to be the case, yeah. Yeah, because whatever happened to that Drew storyline with Kurt, where he sort of embarrassed him on Raw, made him tap out to his own move.
Yeah.
I guess in fairness, that Angle retirement storyline was just dropped, of Kurt being rubbish and having to rebuild himself up. That was just dropped after a couple of weeks, and then they didn't really know what they were going to do with it until last week, where it was like, it's going to happen. So, I don't know. Either way, I think it's crap.
Yeah, the story's there.
Yep.
Baron and Kurt do have legit beef for about a year period. But it's a crap beef.
And it's a beef that no one cares about, because that beef has been long gone, because we don't have GMs anymore. If Corbin was still GM, it'd be a different matter, but we don't have general managers anymore. There are no authority figures in WWE anymore. That's so evident.
Yeah, it was... If a heel authority figure was forcing Kurt to have his last match against Baron, and that's the way it is for a bit, and then we get a better match, brilliant.
Yeah.
But that's not what they've done. It was Kurt choosing it. Makes Kurt look bad. The Chicago crowd booed Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
That's the wrong direction of the heat.
They were not booing Baron Corbin. They were not booing a heel authority figure choosing Baron Corbin. They were booing Kurt Angle making a bad choice.
Imagine if Baron Corbin walked out and said, I've spoken to the McMahons. I'm going to retire you.
And
cuts Kurt off.
And it puts the heat onto Baron there, as opposed to putting the heat onto the bloody babyface making this choice. It's not great. It's
awful.
It is awful. But if it is a swerve, then they have got the reaction that they were after, because it's massively downvoted on YouTube. And that was all the tweets I had this morning from people who watch this show were all about Baron. No one sent me anything about Batista. No one sent me anything about Seth or Drew or Brock. It was all about Baron Corbin. So I guess in a way, if it is a swerve, it did work? Question mark?
Problem is, we don't talk about the people who just stop watching.
Yeah.
So, people will just stop watching off the back of this.
Yeah. Remember when all those people were just tuning out because Baron Corbin was in the main event?
Yeah.
And just stop watching.
It's baffling. And I won't get into this anymore, but there was just one line as well where Kurt said, thanks to the McMahon family for letting me choose my opponent.
Yeah.
So it's just so you're rubbish because you chose Baron Corbin, and also you're sucking up to a family that are half heels the last time I looked, with Vince and Shane.
Yeah, they're definitely the heels. Stephanie's questionable,
Baffling.
so I don't know. Anyway, he, after last week, said that he might have just had his last TV match on Raw. He had another one this week. It's his sort of farewell tour.
I thought it was last match in Pittsburgh.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
No, but then on the Raw, I guess it's a YouTube thing, so it's not canon anyway. On the YouTube thing, he said that it was my last TV match. Well, my last match until WrestleMania. So either plans change or that's out of continuity.
Yeah.
Either way, he had another exhibition match. This time against Chad Gable. And I thought, well, this should be great. This should be great. And it was good.
It was okay. I thought it was a bit sloppy. I got off a lot on Chad Gable wrestling Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
So even though there were a few missed spots and it looked a bit awkward at times, I could get past that. What I couldn't get past was the Baron Corbin announcement. So I watched this entire match enraged.
It's
and
also...
actually no, that they didn't. No, that can't be right.
I think it slots Angle into a really bad position, because he is essentially inserting himself into the lower mid-card by having matches with Apollo Crews and Chad Gable. And like these matches are not doing anything for them. It's not doing anything for Kurt. But if anything, it's just bringing Kurt down. And having a match with Baron Corbin doesn't feel big time either. So what should feel like a big main event storyline, this is Kurt Angle's final ever match. And it feels like it's a lower card thing. Mm-hmm. This could be second on the card at WrestleMania.
Kurt Angle's retirement. It's offensive, is what it is. Speaking of Apollo Crews, he goes up to Baron Corbin backstage afterwards and goads him into a match because Apollo wrestled Kurt last week.
Because they're friends now.
Respect. And then we got the women's tag team champions, Sasha Banks and Bayley, coming out to talk about how they're going to face the Iconics tonight on SmackDown.
Yes. Well, yeah, not to have a match with them. Was that what they said they're going to have a match there? I thought they just said they're going to appear on SmackDown.
Out.
And Kofi, we know the gauntlet match is starting SmackDown tonight, so perhaps my fantasy booking of it going the whole 2 hours could happen, but that would mean the other advertised stuff that they've done, like Bayley and Banks showing up on SmackDown and Miz addressing Shane McMahon, isn't going to happen.
Insets.
Well, yeah, maybe, I suppose. Could always be.
Jeez.
Yeah, it'll probably go the first hour, I guess. I did like Charlie saying that, hey, you've not been on SmackDown, but they did reference NXT. Mm-hmm. They did reference that they've been there, so that's nice to get that into continuity.
But what happened was Beth Phoenix and Natalya came out to have just a horribly scripted promo. Just a really awkward, like, Sasha Banks, Bayley, they're not the best promos, especially in their current guise. And Natalya's no good. Beth Phoenix is no good. Doing this really stilted dialogue. And she's saying things like, I sat there watching the women's evolution happen and you've awakened the dragon. Mm-hmm. I was just like, this is bollocks.
It felt like if you looked at this as a script, there'd be loads of that little TM thing, little trademark.
Yeah, it was just... And that's what Beth Phoenix's commentary is. I don't know if that's her or if that's just how she's produced.
I really don't think it is.
I imagine it's how she's produced.
Yeah.
But she just sounds like a buzzword machine.
Yeah.
And she doesn't come off any more realistic here. And I don't like how WWE have finally decided, you're under contract. You're a legend. We're gonna portray you as a legend. Sure, she's a Hall of Famer, but I don't...
Everyone's a Hall of Famer these days.
Yeah, I don't really look back at WWE's history and think of Beth Phoenix as one of these Mount Rushmore figures, and that's how they're presenting her.
But that might just be because that was during a very down period where this is again you and I trashing the mid-2000s, which is a very beloved time for a lot of our audience. So we can't trash it too much. There'll be people who will look at Beth Phoenix the way we did China back in the day. So I think Beth probably did have a very good career. I can't tell you a single
apart from the Santino stuff.
Well, yeah.
That's the only bit I remember.
And that's it. It's like, and it's not Beth's fault. It's that she unfortunately was just in a period of time where WWE didn't want women's wrestling because they didn't think anyone wanted it, despite the fact there were other promotions doing it very well and drawing massive ratings with it. But I suppose, though, it is our fault. But yeah, she was just in the wrong time. She was in the wrong period of time for WWE where they were just like, telling women you can't do punches, you have to do slaps, making them go out and retape matches if they looked a bit good, making them go out there and just being like, no, you do less in your matches because we don't want you to outshine men.
Yeah, there's that. But still, that doesn't explain why WWE are now presenting her as this revered legend figure.
Because they always do rewriting of history.
Yeah, but it just makes it ring even more hollow. And it's a shame because Beth Fit, like, of all the legends they bring back, like Trish and Lita,
Mickie James.
Mickie James is different. She's actually still really good. but like when they come back, I'm not like I always, my first stumbling block is you don't look like you could beat anyone up. You're not as young as these people, and you've been retired for like 10 years. Whereas Beth Phoenix looks amazing. Like, she looks way more physically impressive than a lot of the current women's roster.
She looks awesome.
So, like, I believe in her as an in-ring wrestler, but I don't believe in her as this second coming of Mae Young.
I believe her being a legend more than I do when they kept saying that Alicia Fox was like the figurehead of this division, and she was the true pioneer of this women's division.
Anyway, Phoenix said she's going to come out of retirement at WrestleMania so her and Natalya can take on Sasha Banks and Bayley for these really precious women's tag team titles.
They've only been around for a month. I'd give them a bit more time before they become devalued. And yeah, and then they kind of got into a bit of a tete-a-tete, and they were saying like, hey, the Bayley and Banks were like, this division has evolved beyond you now. You're from a completely different era.
Evolution.
And then Nia Jax came out, and did they? No, sorry. I've written, they get into each other's faces, the segment ends. And it did lead to a match between Natalya and Sasha Banks. That's when Nia came out. She made fun of people and said that she is stronger, a prettier version of the Glamazon. And then Tamina attacked from behind. I guess it was a DQ. Have you seen Nia Jax's new Tamina's new t-shirt?
Chat me up, Pritchard.
It says, nobody meaner than Tamina.
Sure. That's kind of...
Shout out to my friend Kel for sending me that on Twitter this morning. It really made me laugh.
That's fitting in a very naff way.
Yeah.
So, it looks like they're building Sasha Banks and Bayley versus Nia Jax and Tamina versus the Iconics versus Beth Phoenix and Natalya.
The Divas of Doom.
Which does not excite me in the slightest. Add an NXT team in the mix, I'm in.
Well, that was the original plan. It was going to be those three teams and possibly the Sky Pirates from NXT, but they've decided to go with Natty and Beth instead.
Yeah. Then we got Mojo Rawley's back.
Yeah! Doing the same promo he was doing 2 months ago.
He's stuck in the Mirrorverse.
He cannot get out of it. He's just standing there staring in the mirror, and I'm like, have you been doing this every week? We're just not seeing it now.
They're great promos.
Great promos.
Really well-delivered promos.
Yeah.
But he's immediately fallen into Bray Wyatt. Oh, yeah, but there's no payoff, so why would I care about this?
It's just nonsense.
Yeah.
It's going nowhere.
So he had a couple in January when these first started. When was the last time we saw Mojo Rawley on television?
In a match or doing these segments?
Well, they're both the same.
Okay. Well, no, match must be much longer.
Yeah. So the most recent one is...
The most recent one, I would say, was in... I'm going to say... I don't think it was January. It wasn't in the lead up to the Rumble. So December?
Oh, no, it was February 4th.
No, was it really?
Yeah. No, this was only a January thing they started doing.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm surprised.
Well, February 4th...
It felt like it's been going much longer.
Drop it for 6 weeks and then pop him up again in a minute-long promo.
Which was the same as the one he was doing 6 weeks ago.
What is the point?
He needs to figure this out quickly, because that's what he was asking in the mirror. Why can't I figure this out? And I'm like, I don't know, mate. Ask the writers.
Do you think he's in an escape room?
The hardest escape room ever.
Yeah, and he just has to open the mirror.
Yeah, he's used all 3 of his hints.
Then we got... I don't know who booked this match. Ricochet versus Jinder Mahal.
Well, Aleister Black's on his honeymoon, so they can't do a tag match with the Revival and or Chad Gable, because Chad Gable was in the Cat Angle match. Also, there's a reason why the Revival went on TV this week, because there's no one else for them to have matches with. So we had Ricochet versus Jinder. They did remind us that Jinder was WWE champion once, and this match was him working over Ricochet for a long time.
I would say 80%. That's not exaggeration.
No.
80% of this match was either Jinder very slowly working over Ricochet or having him in some kind of rest hold. And then, that's such an outdated view of exciting wrestling these days. Audiences have moved. They've evolved from watching these kinds of matches. You to have a boring guy get rest holds and then have an exciting flurry of offense from the babyface, you have to be really, really good to make that work. And Jinder Mahal, bless him, is not good in that way.
No.
And he's really physically impressive, but that makes it doubly bad that he's up against Ricochet, who is in reality very small.
Yeah.
It's just baffling. I can't believe that people thought that this batch of call-ups would be okay. Aleister Black, Ricochet, Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano. Granted, Ciampa and Gargano have been taken out with accentuating circumstances.
But they were going to be a babyface tag team together, so that was already weird.
Yes, but I think that's probably for the better for them because they would have been screwed up. They're not, Ricochet and Black are not screwed up, but this is so ineffective, and every week it just solidifies them more in the mid-card, or in this case, undercard. A match against Jinder Mahal, where he's beaten for 80% of the match and gets a fluke victory at the end.
Lacey Evans wasn't on the show either, speaking of NXT call-up. She wasn't on SmackDown, so we're now...
EC3?
Well, according to, I think it's WrestlingNews.co, he's got heat backstage, and Vince just isn't high on him at the moment. Nikki Cross, she hasn't been around since before, what was the one before Fastlane? Elimination Chamber. She lost to Ruby Riott before her match with Ronda Rousey, which went, 30 seconds or whatever. This wasn't great. I also, fun little fact for you, peeling back the curtain somewhat, when I start doing my notes, I actually have blankets, like I've already written out some of the notes, but I've just put like blanks, which I can then fill in later. So I'll have blank works over blank, or rather, blanks cause distraction, which allows blanks to take over, blank works over blank, blank makes comeback, blank wins. So I have that like written down already, so I can just go in there and just change the names. Have it for tag matches as well. Heels work over blank, blank gets hot tag, blank runs wild.
And this was a very formulaic match.
Singh brothers cause the distraction, allows Jinder to take over. Jinder works over Ricochet. Rick makes a comeback. Rick wins.
Yeah. Seth Rollins had a promo on Drew next, and he talked about getting revenge for Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. And then we got the other great thing on the show, apart from the Batista stuff, which was Ronda Rousey taking on Dana Brooke.
Yeah, I did like, Mean Charlie was brilliant in this backstage segment where she was like, Ronda Rousey's awesome. You're rubbish.
Yeah, she even said...
Yeah. And and Dana Brooke's like, I'm Dana Brooke.
Yeah.
And not as like, I'm Dana Brooke and I'm proud. It's more like, I'm Dana Brooke and I'm rubbish. And Charlie essentially was just like, Dana essentially goes, I may be rubbish, but I just need to be less rubbish than Ronda is for 3 seconds.
Look, I've been really impressed with Dana Brooke. Like, I think objectively, she cut a great promo last week. I think she cut a great promo here, and I started to believe in her. And I get the way it went down, but if Dana Brooke started having a slightly competitive match with Ronda, I would have been into Dana. I would have been rooting for Dana. But yeah, Mean Charlie Caruso was savage. Savage on Dana.
Anyway, Ronda murders Dana Brooke and taps her out immediately. Like, it went borderline 15 seconds.
It was 18 seconds.
18 seconds. Crikey.
And it started off with these knees to the face, which looked great.
Ronda absolutely brutalized her. Like, Ruby Riott had a more competitive match at Elimination Chamber.
I've got down in my notes, this had way more build than Ruby Riott versus Ronda.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they actually had segments together, so yeah, it really did.
I thought, credit to Dana as well, though, because Dana's selling of the armbar was awesome. Really good.
Yeah, so great. Her screams were so guttural. I thought she was awesome.
Yeah, because she tapped very quickly. But even that was like, it looked like she tried to hold on. It was really, really well done. Yeah. But Ronda kept hold of the move.
It's like she was yanking it even further. I thought Dana was really great.
Yeah. And even afterwards, there was a kerfuffle that we'll talk about in a sec on the outside, Dana's holding her arm a bit weirdly. Like, it's obviously not dislocated, but there was an effort to hold it like it was.
Yeah.
I thought she was great.
I thought she was really good. I've been a big fan of Dana. I loved her in her NXT days. I thought she was she was someone who just got her character. And I thought she was really good. Might not have been... all that stuff was
tapping on the
wonderful.
head. Yeah.
Like, she was never the world's best wrestler, but I think she really understood her character and really portrayed that character well. And then she came up to the main roster and was like, oh, you're Charlotte's lackey now.
It was too soon. She wasn't ready.
Brought up way too soon. Remember that was going to be the big WrestleMania match? Charlotte versus Dana.
But after this, Ronda is sort of not chased off, but she leaves the ring after a bunch of referees come down to check on Dana. She goes to her husband, Travis Brown, mentioned earlier by ringside, gives him a little smooch.
Check off Travis.
Yeah, and then some security guards come in and say, no, you've got to come with us. I don't really know why they were there.
Well, they were just there to make sure she doesn't attack anyone else, I guess.
And Ronda just attacked them.
Yeah.
And Travis grabbed one and gave a wicked punch.
It looked wicked. It looked like a really good punch.
It was so good. And then Braun lifts Ronda up over the barricade and they just walk out through the crowd. It was great. They looked so cool together.
They felt like superstars.
Yeah, and it was such a good way to build on Ronda's heel character from last week. It's just a shame that it's come 3-4 weeks before the match with Becky and after a myriad of arrests and suspensions and injuries.
Yeah, they're trying to repair this storyline that they themselves broke. And I think they're doing admirable work, but I don't think it undoes all of the bad stuff they had done previously.
No. And they can't. It's sort of like Becky's cooled off quite considerably, unfortunately. But it's weird now Ronda is this super heel, and she's so good at it. I get why they have Charlotte in the match in case one of them gets injured and there's that sort of plan B mentality. But I think it kind of renders Charlotte a bit redundant.
Because she's supposed to be the heel of the trio.
And Ronda's such a good heel in comparison to Charlotte. But yeah.
I mean, there's also...
It's a shame it's not a singles match now.
Has there ever been any explanation or any storyline? And I'm hoping to be wrong here. I'm hoping that people can point out where I'm wrong, because I don't know about this. Has there been any storyline reason given as to why Becky and Charlotte have not been on Raw for the past few weeks to kind of help build their WrestleMania match? Is there any reason why they've just gone back to being SmackDown only again?
No, not that I can recall. I thought you were going to say, is there any reason why Vince added Charlotte?
No, again, but that's just part of, like, all of that stuff's just been dropped. It is, in years to come, we will look back on this and we will look at this first 7 weeks worth of build for Ronda, Becky, and Charlotte as the Deborah is Rock's manager before their WrestleMania X7 match. Like, for that 1 week storyline that they did.
After that, from the highs of Ronda's great heel act, we got Apollo Crews versus Baron Corbin, which the crowd were dead for. They didn't get entrances. It was a boring match, but the crowd hilariously chanted, "You're not Cena," to Baron Corbin. And WWE, their booking is so bad, they got Chicago to chant for John Cena.
But again, I'm guessing this is all part of the storyline, because Cole was putting over how social media is very upset that Baron Corbin is facing Kurt Angle at WrestleMania.
I hope it's a swerve. It's still a badly told story because Kurt chose Baron. I'm worried.
But anyway, Crews won. And the storyline they're telling is that Corbin got distracted by the crowd. He almost distracted himself, and that's what allowed Corbin to win. So, Crews to win, rather. So maybe that's what will help Kurt Angle get the win at WrestleMania, because he's too rubbish to actually beat Baron Corbin. That's been proven once before.
It's like, what a way. If there is Baron versus Kurt, what a great way to build up Corbin. Have Apollo Crews get a surprise roll-up victory 3 weeks out.
I did think to myself, I was like, surely Corbin's winning here, yeah? And then, nope, absolutely not.
So then was the Batista segment, and we got this awful segue from Charlie Caruso.
Bless her heart. I don't want to rag on Charlie here, because she's just doing a job. She's given stuff to say.
Mean Charlie Caruso's great. This is a problem we've brought up a few times now over the last few weeks, where something will happen, it will cut back to the backstage generic robot interviewer, Kayla Braxton, Dasha
Fuentes. I think she was on this show today.
Maybe. And they just go, yeah, that looked mean. Here's another thing that's also mean. And you're like, well, they're not the same kinds of mean, though.
No. So King of Segway style over here does not appreciate the segues that they use.
So she's talking about, some clear resentment from Batista there, talking about his match with Triple H. On the subject of resentment, here's Braun Strowman to talk about the Saturday Night Live guys.
Speaking of segues,
I'm like, that's not.
I know.
I don't feel like Braun resents them. That's the wrong emotion you're talking about.
Yeah.
He's angry with them.
He feels disrespected by them.
Yeah.
I suppose maybe Batista feels disrespected by Triple H. So maybe they are the same.
Anyway, Braun steps in. I forgot this segment happened, by the way.
I don't think we talked about it last week. I think we set it up that we were going to talk about it, and then we never did. Braun beating up the car.
We talked about the car. Maybe we didn't talk about the action figure playset.
It's a toy. They
Yeah.
did that segment because a lot of people were like, wow, they released a toy of that very quickly, and I'm like, no, this is He-Man. This is like, we need to sell a toy line. Let's make a cartoon for it. This is Thundercats and G.I. Joe Transformers.
This is chuck 'em in a shark cage. You remember those few months where every match was in a shark cage? Batista's talking about... Sorry, not Batista. Braun Strowman's talking about how he's angry at Colin Jost, and Alexa Bliss comes in and says, well, let me sort it out. Wait next week, so I imagine there'll be another angle next week. And Braun said he'll be in the Men's Battle Royal at WrestleMania, so he can give everyone these hands.
The Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, so he can throw around... Has he been in a Battle Royal? He was in a Battle Royal a couple of years ago, I think.
He won the greatest
Royal
Royal
I think
Rumble.
he's been in an Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal as well. I think it was the one which Mojo won.
Yeah.
Came down to Mojo and Jinder.
Yeah, because I think we're all like, well, Braun's winning, right?
Yeah.
And then Mojo won it.
Because of Gronk.
To give some inspirational words to kids.
With the trophy in that, where he's carrying the trophy around to every single building.
Those were also good promos. Mojo Rawley's good.
Yeah.
So after that, we got the main event of Seth Rollins
Well, we
versus
also-
Drew McIntyre.
We also got Charlotte Flair doing Girl Up. And
Yeah.
I just thought, why didn't you do this with baby faces? You've got enough of them.
Because wrestling's fake.
Oh, I see.
And now that is out, now that's been exposed by Ronda, I guess we're just not going to care about consistency within the show you're watching.
Yeah. Why not do this with Becky?
Here is the wrestling stuff. The wrestling stuff is real when you're watching the wrestling stuff, apart from when they reference that it's not real. And then you've got the actual stuff in the real world, which is the PR stuff, which is actually more fabricated than the real. I don't know. It's mind-bogglingly awful.
Anyway, here's some good news. It's not going to be Baron Corbin versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania like I feared. Yet, perhaps. Well, no, I feel like I feel like they're sticking to this one because Drew challenged Roman to a match at WrestleMania. Few very happy to be wrong on that one, or whether plans changed or not. Either way, I'm just glad it's Drew and it's not Baron Corbin.
Yeah. I didn't. Drew had a good promo. He was talking about, like, you want to do things for your family now. So if you want to do things for your family, I beg you, don't accept my challenge because I will, I'll end you at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I thought that was more than enough. I thought, I know what you're talking about. I know you're talking about leukemia there. I know you're talking about nearly dying, and now you want to spend time with the family. So I didn't feel they needed to say after that. Drew said the line, you might have beaten leukemia, but you can't beat me at WrestleMania. And I just thought, I think that's a stupid line.
That's a Baron Corbin line,
Yeah.
not Drew McIntyre. And I also think that Drew's been completely cooled off. As I think they did a good job last week of trying to make him look dominant again, but he spent the last 6 to 8 months as a lackey for other people.
Yeah, he beat Kurt Angle, and then there were 4 months of nothing.
Being
just stuck in the mid-card vortex.
Yeah, the mid-card of evil. I thought you might be really more annoyed at the way that this whole segment was structured.
Yeah.
Because what happened was, Drew came out, and then they did the video, like he pointed to the screen, and they did the video recap thing. And then he cuts his promo, and then it cuts to Seth on screen, and
backstage in Gorilla.
And then he plays a video package that shows him attacking Drew from earlier in the night.
Yeah, so Seth just says, Drew's saying all this stuff that Drew just said. That's why I attacked him with a chair at the start of the night. And then it just plays the clip right there.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, what's Rollins doing back at Gorilla? Oh, it was just stupid.
Yeah.
It makes it so scripted and
So
exposed.
staged. It looked very goofy. And he said that chair shot was for his brothers, but this one's for him. And then they sort of collided in the aisle to start the match.
Yeah, because they can't wait for that, but they can wait for a recap package to play. That's how much they hate each other.
Yeah.
This was, surprise, surprise, Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins had a really good match.
They really did. Some really, really nice stuff in it. I liked Rollins trying to do a moonsault off the steps and Drew just swatting him down. I thought that was really cool.
I like Drew catching a Seth dive and then just throwing him into the barricade. Yeah. There was the Alabama Slam.
Yeah, the reverse one, yeah.
Really brutal on Seth.
Right on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Oof, mate.
I think the next couple of weeks is going to be me freaking out every time Seth lands. He did his usual sunset flip over the turnbuckle and he landed. And that's, where the old, I think, ACL tear with Kane came from.
Yeah.
I was like, is he okay?
And they did this really, they did the superplex Falcon Arrow spot, but kind of twisted up, and I really like this. Seth jumps up, he hits the superplex, and then Drew goes to reverse the Falcon Arrow, but Seth reverses it and then hits the Falcon Arrow. I thought it was actually a really nice way to do it.
Yeah, Rollins is so good at having his match, his template of match, but just riffing on his usual spots. I'm amazed how he hasn't run out of riffs. Yeah. But then the finish came.
But like a complete idiot, he got distracted by Brock's music, and Drew hit the Claymore and won.
Yeah. Such a lazy, rubbish finish of Brock coming out, standing there, smiles. Seth is like, ooh. Turns around, Drew Claymore, win. So, yeah. I guess it's good because Seth was cost the match. He doesn't look... He looks stupid, but he doesn't look physically weak, and Drew won the match, which makes sense if he's going to face Roman. I thought this was, apart from Batista and Ronda, this was a bad episode of Raw. Yeah,
not great. Boring, I would say. Boring for a lot of the show.
Boring Corbin. So it was boring, or it was infuriating, because the Kurt stuff was actually quite a big part of this show. It ran through multiple segments, and it just, even if it is a swerve, it's still really badly done.
Yeah, very poorly done. I'm not excited for a lot of the Raw matches at Mania. I'm really not into Seth versus Brock. I haven't felt like... Seth winning the Royal Rumble doesn't feel like a big deal. And Seth versus Brock doesn't feel like a big deal at the moment. Kind of into Drew, I guess. Like they were putting over that he's defeated all 3 members of the Shield in 1 week, so that's like a really strong way to put him over, so Roman can beat him at Mania. That's quite nice. No, I think they've completely botched this Kurt Angle retirement storyline. I think they've completely bungled that. Not massively into the women's tag title stuff, and the Raw tag titles are just completely forgotten. Dash Wilder openly burying being a champion on Twitter, saying like, "Don't wish it upon your kids. It's terrible." So, yeah, not a great show, but I did like Ronda, and I do like Batista, so thumbs up for those segments.
Well, let's give some Patreon shout-outs to our very generous $25 a month or more pledgers. Big Bad Blake Lloyd.
Oh, he's big and he's bad. Boom, boom. Colt Sample.
Yeah.
Yes.
Today's Tom Sawyer Mean Pride.
It's a Rush song. Today's Tom Sawyer, Mean Pride.
Okay.
A band that my wife thought was made up for the film I Love You Man. Until I played some Rush in my car, she was like, "Oh, are they an actual band?"
And he's also a Mexican wrestler now signed with Ring of Honor.
He certainly is. Courageous Caleb.
Whoa,
so courageous.
Driller killer David Humphries.
Watch out. So, yes. They are only known as #Team LOL.
Michael Plowman, that's his name. That name again is Michael Plowman.
Lovely.
Yeah, I got that reference.
Lovely old Simpsons references. Yo, Adrian! Rocky.
Woo! Cheers. Naughty Nathan Lamont Collins.
Oh, he's naughty.
Naughty.
And he quit the band, Mike Solomon, or Solomon.
Woo! Yes. Okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
I get it. Thank you very much for watching. Please click the videos that have just appeared on our laps to catch up with the latest WrestleTalk things, and go to beer52.com/WrestleTalk to get your free case of craft beer, UK viewers only. I've been Ollie Davis. This has been Luke Gowen, and that was Rambling.